Dassault Systems, our customer, developed one of the most faithful simulation of the human heart using 3 sets of physics. The physics of the mechanical pumping of the heart, the physics of the electrical impulses that excites the heart, and the physics of the blood flow in the heart. Faithful reproduction of our heart. One of the purposes of doing this is so that they can help surgeons insert pacemaker wire. The reason for this is that these wires break. There was a 2-year-old girl with a condition that needed this to be inserted, and because of a condition, by the time she was 20 years old, the wire broke 3 times, and she had to be operated on 3 further times. A few people know, right, when our heart for 20 years would beat 1 billion times. Yes. So, trying to build these physical models that are faithful, that can be used by surgeons. Next example, wheat that feeds the world. We had it good in the 1970s. You can see that the wheat yield per acre of land improved exponentially. This was mainly due to Norman Borlaug. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for developing a strain of wheat that is not only high yielding, but also disease resistant and short, so that it doesn't spoil or break easily. It was so good a strain of wheat that India and Pakistan doubled their wheat output during that time, and Mexico became a net exporter of wheat during that time. But there is a problem. The yield has flattened. So scientists are coming together using modern techniques now with DNA sequencing to help with this. You know why? Because Norman Borlaug took 10 years and 6,000 trial and error crossbreeding to figure out this strain of wheat. So the hope now is that we can use DNA sequencing not to do genetically modified wheat, but to do more targeted crossbreeding. But the problem doesn't stop there. This is the size of the rice genome. Relatively speaking, this is the size of the corn and human genome. Yes, there are times I think we are only as smart as corn, yeah, right? Yes, right. But the problem with wheat is that it is much bigger. Yes, I didn't know this, right? Maybe because wheat was grass in the early days, and they've been around much longer than us. Yeah. When scientists want to put multiple strains of wheat in a computer system to do cross-analysis, they needed a system with huge amounts of memory, and we built it for them. So work is ongoing right now to try and figure out how to do much better targeted crossbreeding to get our wheat yield back up again. I was in Copenhagen recently, working with a customer with 2,000 supermarket stores in the region. I got this app from them on a Friday, and it shows 36,000 items in their 2,000 supermarkets of food items they're going to throw away because all of them are reaching their sell-by date. So you could actually call up this app. I have it loaded. Yeah, you click on that, and then immediately all the different places with food that they're going to be thrown away in a supermarket. And I went to the nearest supermarket and picked out a loaf of bread for 20 cents. Yeah. Yes, I actually saved on company expense that day. Yeah. Yes. I bought butter the same way too. Yes. The key thing was, this was Friday, and by Monday, when I look at the app again, the amount of food they're going to throw away dropped to 4,000. This is a lesson learned for me here is that once you are at the edge, as Phil said, in the supermarkets, and the ability to extract data very, very quickly before midnight and publish the results of sale items the next morning, you can actually do a lot of good. In this case, this company reduced their food waste tremendously and improve their profit margin by 10%. Yeah. Good for them, good for the consumers, and good for Earth. Yeah. Another example. This year, 2008, is a very, very special year. Not to mention the subprime crisis, but it's a very special year. It's a year where this swimsuit made by Speedo, called LZR, broke 23 of the 24 world records. What they did was to take the top swimmers into a water tunnel, flow water over these top swimmers, and identified micro-turbulences that could cause drag on the swimmers. Develop a 3D model, put it through simulation, and try to figure out the best shape for swimmers and the best surface for swimmers. Develop material that will meet those conditions and came up with the LZR Speedo swimsuit. Areas in silver are hard and shaping, and areas in black are shark skin-like to break off those micro-turbulences. That's Michael Phelps, a world champion. He actually swims like a fish. Yeah. Yes. It is so good that Nike-sponsored swimmers went to Nike and said, please let me wear Speedo. Nike, for patriotic reasons, said, okay. Yeah? And why is this still relevant? The 4 by 100 meters who broke the world record 11 years ago, and the record still stands. You know why? FINA banned the swimsuit right after the Olympics. 2 of them are Nike-sponsored swimmers. Raise your hands if you spot the 2 that are Nike-sponsored swimmers and the other 2 that are Speedo-sponsored swimmers. Anyone? Yes? There we go. Yes. You will notice that Michael Phelps, on his heart area, there is a Speedo logo. Next to him, Jones doesn't have a Speedo logo. Yeah, but a Nike hat. And then Lizak also doesn't have a Speedo logo. Nike said, if you wear Speedo, at least take up the logo. Yeah, right. This record still stands. It stands as a testament to the technological advantage given to humans, right? And the record is stood for 11 years and still going. Let's switch to a different kind of smart system, one that can deal with adversaries. We know IBM, with full respect to them, beat the world top chess player in '97. Fewer people know that University of Alberta developed a checker player that beat the world top checker player. Right? Of course, hats off to Google. The most complicated game there is, right? 10 to the power 171 combinations. If you took all the computers in the world, combine them and run for 100 years, you will only do 10 to the power 30. So you can imagine how big this number is in terms of number of combinations for Go. I, as CTO for AI, had to figure out for HPC, what do we do in that blank area on the right here? No game more complicated than Go. I controversially picked poker. Yeah, okay. Texas Hold'em, heads up, no limit. For those who want to know what exact poker game it is. The reason I picked it is because even though it is not as complicated as Go, it has one thing more sophisticated, and that is all the other games, you know your opponent's pieces. But for poker, your opponent's cards are hidden from you. Not only that, your opponent is constantly trying to deceive you, bluff you. So I thought this would be a useful application for business negotiation, auctions, and so on, and cyber defense. So, IBM, to make sure, to show that their system is better than humans, went to a formal chess tournament. Go went to a formal Go tournament. We went to a casino. Yeah, okay. Yeah, on the right is Jason Les, one of the world's top Texas Hold'em, heads up, no limit poker player. We are innocent on the left, on your left. Yeah, except for that, notice that cable on the floor, going to the back of the room with a $300 million machine. We still lost $700,000, yeah, in 2015. Yeah, I had to report to my CEO. Yes. Yes. Together with Professor Sandholm, who developed this software at Carnegie Mellon University, we asked the top 4 poker players what happened. The machine beat you at the beginning, but eventually, after midway, you beat the machine really hard. And all 4 of them almost said the same thing. The machine did not bluff very well. Yeah, they could spot the bluffing technique. So, okay, Professor Sandholm went back and told us that he needed a machine 10 times bigger, and by then HPE has come in, 10 times bigger, acquired SGI, right? And we deployed that machine, and he trained the machine for 1 year on nothing but bluffing. Came back in 2017, January, beat the 4 poker players $1.7 million. And has not lost since. It has not lost to any human since. So we asked the 4 poker players, so what's different now? You managed to beat the machine in the beginning, but after midway, the machine beat you hard. It's the opposite. What happened? All 4 said almost the same thing. Oh, it bluffed really well now. Yeah, right? One lesson learned here is that the key thing is you need to identify the weakness of a smart machine, and you just throw enough compute power at it in the right way. There are ways to fix it. Yeah. It took a year of a $10 million machine, but we got there. Yeah. Formula One cars. So you heard of Formula E. We are working with the Formula Venturi team on that. But we started earlier with the Mercedes Formula One team. Can't say much what we do in terms of machine learning and designing their car for this year, right? But suffice to say, I did not sleep very much the first race of this season this year in Melbourne. Yeah, because maybe if they don't win, yeah, I probably won't be standing here today. They did, right? Out of 19 races, they have won 14, and of the 14, 9 of them were first and second. So, okay, yeah, right. So can't say much more except for to show you this picture to say that we work closely with them. I'm allowed to stand behind the red line, yeah, while they are assembling Hamilton's car before he goes out on the race, and the engineers did not kick me out of that red line, yeah, right. Maybe they did right after the picture, but, right, okay. Work closely with them. Another area of Formula One cars that is very related to what Phil said about the edge and data, and what Alon said about the edge and data. These cars have 300 sensors, and over a weekend race, they would collect 0.5 terabyte of data to be sent back to the headquarters to improve the car for next race. That's a lot of data they collect. How do you then collect that data from the edge at the very instant it is collected so that you can study it immediately? Not easy, because you have very, very thin connection between the car when it's racing to trackside. So the only time you can download really, really hard is when it enters the trackside and that enters the pit lane, right? Like now. Not yet.
Hamilton ve Bottas.
Not yet. Not yet.
Arka arkaya pitler
Not yet.
geliyor Mercedes'ten.
Turn. Okay.
Red Bull ortalığı karıştırdı
1,000,
Verstappen'in pitiyle.
2,000, 3,000,
Hamilton ve Bottas'ı arka arkaya
4,000,
pite çağırıyor.
5,000,
Mercedes
6,000,
zor bir görev bekliyor
7,000,
mekanikerleri. Önce Hamilton
8,000,
geldi.
9,000,
Yarışın kaderini belirleyebilecek
10,000,
saniyeler.
11,000,
Sorunsuz pit
12,000.
stop. Hemen ardından Valtteri Bottas. Makine düzeninde kusursuz bir iş Mercedes'ten.
That's all you have. About, on average, 10 to 15 seconds to download gigabytes, I can't say how much, gigabytes and gigabytes of data. And we had to work with a custom Wi-Fi system from a supplier. The minute it enters the pit lane, to do massive downloads to get that data so we can analyze and help the drivers when they exit the pit lane. Yeah. So edge data, to be able to get it quickly, is an advantage. Just like the supermarkets, right? Although the time frame is much different here. In the same way, soon when you buy a car, it will have 200 to 300 sensors in it. And in order to get that data out, the car manufacturer will put a 5G chip in it and not ask you to pay for it. He will just ask you for permission to upload that data. Yes? Just make sure if you don't want it, to check it off. Yeah. Right. The problem today is, if the car in front collects data about road condition, it's of a different manufacturer of the car behind, they cannot share the data. So we, together with Continental, developed this platform where when the car in front detects, say, oil spills on the road that can be dangerous, sends the data up to its own manufacturer, and through a blockchain technology method, sends it to the car behind, and the car behind can pay maybe 2 cents for that information through that blockchain system. And maybe HPE makes a small transaction fee here. Right. Right. This is what we developed in the hopes that cars of different manufacturer can still share data instantaneously. So the result is the car behind will see this on your dashboard. 2 flashing red spots that came from the information of the car in front of a different manufacturer. And you would have paid the car in front money for that data. This is our vision. We have already got 10 car companies coming together to agree on this standard so that any manufacturer cars can share data across each other. The key thing is, of course, not just blockchain, but blockchain technology. Actually, Alon challenged me before I came on stage to explain blockchain in 2 minutes. Yeah. If I see more than 10 hands, I will do it. Okay, I do it. Yeah. I prepared this just in case, right? Okay. Not blockchain today, using traditional ledger. This is a ledger. John pays Jim $10. John went to ATM, withdraw $200, so on and so on and so on. And this is your ledger that someone has to be responsible for, accountant or a bank. This is traditional ledger. In blockchain, John pays Jim 2 Bitcoin, Sarah pays Jim 3 Bitcoins, so on and so on and so on. 1 block. More transaction, another block. More transaction, another block. And this ring binder is your chain. Oh, blockchain. It is actually, thank you. It is actually quite simple. It's just a different name for the same thing, except that now you have a problem. You are allowed to give digitally everyone a copy. So what happens if someone tries to manipulate the ledger? Well, this is where you use hash, where you hash up everything, every item on your block, and the hash generates a unique number on top, big number on top, so that if anyone touches an item here, the number changes. So hash will be used a lot everywhere on the edge now to make sure there is provenance and integrity in data. Meaning, if someone touches something or manipulates something, you will know because the hash will change. We use that for the CIOs. Any CIOs in the audience? Please raise your hand so I know I'm doing this for you. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, 1, 2. Okay, right. CIOs cannot sleep at night because they're worried about systems compromise. At the software level, VMs, applications, operating system, they can deal with ransomware and so on. But if the compromise is at the firmware level, big problem. It is so close to the hardware you don't even know. So this is what we did using hash. We put a chip on some of our servers. You can see this server, 2U server coming, and this chip is right there. Not here yet, not here. It's called the ILO chip. Coming. That chip. The next time you buy a DL ProLiant, open up the top, look for this chip. This is a very special chip with the hash number etched onto the chip, cannot change. It was burned onto the chip when it leaves our factory. So that during boot process, it will check every line of your firmware, and if it has been modified, it will not match this hash, just like a blockchain. And you will know. So this is some of the technologies we're applying now also in hardware to let your CIO sleep a bit longer at night. Yeah. Now let's go to city level. In this case, it's stadium.
Hewlett Packard Enterprise has enabled this intelligent stadium. Point Next team have been part of my team from the beginning.
This is probably the first truly digital stadium that's ever been built. Everything is interlinked.
Audio, lighting, building management systems, CCTV, security systems, mobile ticketing, electronic point of sale, the incredible amount of digital signage we have at this stadium, our broadcast infrastructure.
Another thing about this is that the edge is not just one thing where data is coming from. In this case, you saw how Point Next came in to integrate 9 sources of data to give you an integrated, strong picture. So another issue with the edge, multitude of sources of streaming data. We were called to a city with high incidences of tuberculosis, to the extent that they want to X-ray everybody above a certain age. But the problem is they can X-ray fast enough, they have enough X-ray machine, but they don't have enough doctors to look at those images. So as people come in and X-ray, they leave. It takes about 2 weeks before they figured out whether this person has TB. So this person would have been spreading the disease for 2 more weeks. Yeah. So we were called in. We took all their old images that were already labeled with and without TB by their doctors, trained a neural network for this, and then plug it right next to the X-ray machine. So when someone new comes in for an X-ray, within 1 second, the machine learning system will tell the patient, you are okay. Oh, by the way, you still have to wait 2 weeks for the doctor to certify you okay. But so far, I've not been wrong. Yeah? So I'm just dramatizing it, but you get the picture. The key point here is that if the machine says you are not okay, the doctor rushes in, stops you from spreading. Very profound. The lesson learned for us here is don't try to do too many things. In order to deploy this quickly, we just are highly focused. Only X-ray, no MRI, no CT. Only chest, no other places. Only identify TB, no other condition, and get it quickly deployed. The more focused you make the machine, the better the prediction quality, and the better it sustains it. Related to X-rays is a problem of bias across hospitals. This is a big problem. Do read up AI for medical, healthcare, and hospitals. Lots of bias problem. We are working to address this. Let's have a look. A hospital in Chicago sees lots of other X-ray cases except pneumonia thorax, which is a collapse of the lung. Very few cases. So the Chicago hospital will be biased against pneumonia thorax. The hospital in London sees fewer mass in lungs cases, and the hospital in Bangalore sees fewer partial lung collapse cases. So each of them are biased differently. So if you build a machine learning system, you will understand that the Chicago hospital will be weak in accuracy at detecting what it has few data of. Similarly, for the London hospital, weak at what it sees few of. And similarly, for the Bangalore hospital. This is how we live today. Why? Because hospitals cannot share data. Privacy reasons, HEPA, and country sovereignty reason, even more. We are going to live this way from here on, right? No, we want to fix this. So we develop a technique where hospitals can share their learnings, not their data. This is profound. We filed patents around this idea where you learn in isolation with your own patient data, don't share your patient data, but once your neural network is partially trained, you take the neural network weights and share it with everybody else. Only the weights. not the patient data. The result of swarm learning is that there is improvement. Without sharing data, the accuracy improves. Just sharing the learnings, same for London, same for Bangalore. What's more profound is that what you are already good at, you also improve because you're also sharing learnings from the other hospitals and so on. This is swarm learning, where we have developed a technique and try to unite hospitals of the world. Yeah. It is a vision, but we are starting now, just like it is a vision of unifying all the car manufacturers of the world so that the drivers, the consumers, benefit. Finally, world scale. This is a simulation of NOAA of what the world will be like in terms of temperature rise from now till the year 2100. There are many scenarios, areas in red, hotter than today, areas in blue, cooler than today. Many scenarios. There are scenarios worse than this, and the scenarios better than this. Right? But the key was we had to build a quarter exabyte storage system in order to carry all their scenarios. That's a lot of data. Another lesson learned here. Even at the cloud side, lots of data are also generated. But as we said, Phil said, more and more will be on the edge. For those who trust their simulation, you can see the top left-hand corner of the United States. It's probably a good time to buy up land in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, if you trust it. Yeah. From Earth to space, we put a supercomputer on a space station to help figure out whether they can carry one to Mars. The reason is, it takes 20 minutes for someone on Mars to ask a question, and then it takes 20 minutes for the answer to return. Too long for some cases, so you need to carry compute power with you. Dotted line is where this SpaceX capsule docks, and the hard line is where the astronaut will install that server. We just took two standard, off-the-shelf, no modification, HPE servers from our price book, put it into the locker that fits into the space station, and then installed on September 14, 2017, where astronaut Mark van der Hey will put his hand up. There we go. There's no up and down the station, but camera. Now he's going to plug that server up. Yeah? Now, we spent 6 months making sure nothing complicated went wrong, but forgot that the cables were too short. Yeah. Lesson learned. Yeah. We're talking about lesson learned today. Lesson learned. If you spend too much time just concentrating on complicated things, the simple stuff might get you. Yeah. Next time, longer cables. Yeah. For those who wants proof, you will notice the HPE element over there on the space station. So it ran for 1.6 years, no faults that stopped any of the applications. I was very glad. A male astronaut installed it, and a female astronaut deinstalled it. Yeah. Very glad. Yeah. This is what we do. Our purpose, as stated by Antonio and Phil, is that we advance the way people live and work, people on Earth, but also people on their way to another world. Thank you.